The Church of Scientology is once again proving why it's such a contentious organisation. 2 months ago, a court found one of its members, Hollywood actor Danny Masterson, guilty of multiple rapes. As intolerable as that is, the case has also exposed the extraordinary tactics the church used to protect its star recruit and how it cruelly attempted to silence his victims. Since then, there have been more revelations about life inside Scientology, accusations of serious abuses and mob-style operations and attacks. As you'll see though, taking on an organisation as bullying and belligerent as Scientology comes at a cost.
Breaking news now, an actor in Hollywood convicted of rape.
A jury has found Danny Masterson guilty of 2 counts of rape.
That's right. Actor Danny Masterson has been found guilty on...
This is trial and conviction of Hollywood actor Danny Masterson for the rape of 2 women has made headlines around the world.
After the guilty verdicts came in, Masterson was immediately handcuffed and sent to jail.
For not only was he on trial, but so too was the powerful Church of Scientology.
Masterson was one of the most visible celebrity Scientologists.
All the accusers are former members.
Scientology played a huge role in this trial.
A celebrated Scientologist, actor Danny Masterson was a star of the hit sitcom That 70s Show.
So you need to learn to keep your hands off me.
Me? You're the one who can't keep her tongue to herself.
While his character was hip and funny, off-camera, Masterson was a rapist who in 2003 drugged 2 women before violently sexually assaulting them, one at gunpoint. Taking on Masterson meant the women were taking on the mighty billion-dollar Scientology church.
Welcome to church.
As far as religions go, Scientology is the new kid on the block, born from the imagination of American science fiction writer L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s. He would have it that 75 million years ago, humans were invaded by destructive and dangerous alien souls. Only by Scientology can we exorcise them through costly personality testing, auditing, and self-help courses.
Is this a form of psychoanalysis?
No, psychoanalysis, they lay back. Don't associate Scientology with such people. That's terrible. That's bad manners.
After many years and much money, those most deserving are saved, deemed clear of bad alien energy. It's the peak that every good Scientologist strives for. With the Masterson conviction, that public image is taking a battering.
It was never a question for me that it was the right thing to do to testify.
What were some of the tactics you talked about in the court?
The policies that forbid a Scientologist from reporting to law enforcement, the consequences for a Scientologist if they were to violate that, where Scientology will then work systematically to destroy your life, your family, your livelihood, and silence you.
So you go to the police to report a crime or a rape in particular. What happens to you then?
It is a high crime to do so.
Initially, the women who were raped by Masterson, who were also Scientologists, reported the attacks to the church. The shocking response was classic Scientology methodology. The women were victim-shamed and predictably forbidden from reporting to police. Eventually, they did, but it would take a staggering 12 years before the allegations were investigated by authorities.
It was very important because, particularly in this case, there were Scientology reports that indicated these crimes had been reported immediately when they happened. However, the reports were laden with the language of Scientology that had to be decoded in such a way that anybody could understand what took place, and that was the role that I played.
Those victims may feel they have a stronger voice now Scientology has been exposed through the Masterson rape trial. But as you'll see, for those disaffected by the church, the first and greatest challenge remains getting out.
Oh my gosh, I was panicking, but I couldn't let anybody see me.
So you had one chance at this?
Yes, yeah, that was it. It's insane, it's crazy. Okay, day 2, being followed by a different vehicle, and I've tried to ditch them 3 times.
By daring to leave it, Valerie Haney has made the Church of Scientology very angry.
And I've just spent the last half an hour trying to lose him.
In retaliation, she says she is often followed and harassed. To further intimidate her, her house has been broken into.
Oh, are you the one who broke into the gate?
Yes, you remember me.
All this from a church that was once her entire existence.
I was born into it, so there was no like outside schooling, outside life, outside friends, outside anything. You're completely shut out from the world. And yeah, that's the definition of a cult. It's definitely all of that.
Valerie's memories shine a light on life within Scientology. When she was just 6, she was made to work.
Doing all of the dishes for 300 people in the cafeteria and mopping and sweeping the floor, and I had to clean the dumpsters, and there was maggots in the dumpsters, and if you didn't work, then you would be sent to interrogation.
If hard labour seems cruel for children so young, the multi-life contracts they were made to sign for almost everything are insane. At what stage did it cross your mind that signing a billion-year contract was a ludicrous notion?
Well, signing a billion-year contract wasn't ludicrous at all to me when I was 8 years old, believing in Peter Pan and Tinker Bell.
Productions is part of the Church of Scientology International.
We produce all the audiovisual used throughout the church.
Even as an adult, Valerie was unaware she was living in a parallel universe. Overworked, underpaid, and denied the freedom to even leave, until she met visiting actors hired to make training videos for parishioners. When did you decide that you needed to get out? What made you decide?
So it was the first time that I had like interaction with real people. so, they would come and ask me like, is it true that you work from like 8 a.m. to midnight? And is it true that you get paid $47 a week? Yeah. And I was like, wow, wait a second, this is not right at all. So that was kind of when I was like, okay, yeah, I need to go.
The day she left in 2016, Valerie made a split-second decision, spurred on by a fast, disappearing, but high-risk opportunity. So how did you get out?
When I found out that there was, it was the last day that there was gonna be any normal people coming onto the property, and I totally freaked out. I was like, this is my last chance, I have to go. Oh my gosh, I was panicking. There was a section in the parking lot where there wasn't any cameras. And so I went to that section and there was 4 cars or 5 cars, and I checked each car and one was unlocked, and I was like, okay, great. And then I popped the trunk and I was like, this is it, the one car. Okay, I don't know who you are, I don't know where you're going. So I tried to squeeze into the trunk of the car, close the trunk of the car. And then I heard my name, like they were looking for me already. And I was like, please don't pop the trunk, please don't pop the trunk, please don't pop the trunk.
If you had been caught at that time, what would have happened to you?
I would have been put on 24-hour watch and never let out of anyone's sight ever again.
So you had one chance at this?
Yeah, that was it. It's insane. It's crazy.
Incredibly, the car got through security, with Valerie in the boot for the next 2 hours.
That's how I escaped, and I still don't know what the guy's name was to this day that helped me.
But when he discovered you there, he must have got the shock of his life.
He, like, leaped back about 7-10 feet. Oh my God, like, oh my God, you were in there this whole time? And are you okay? Oh my gosh. And he was like, are you okay?
It's unthinkable that such desperate lengths are needed to leave a church you no longer believe in. Valerie Haney's freedom came with a false start. After making her dramatic escape in the boot of a stranger's car, her father, still a Scientologist at the time, insisted she return.
If you could just let me go, I will sign whatever you need me to sign. I would never, ever say anything bad about Scientology.
If she was to leave, he wanted it to be on the church's terms, which would require her to sign a contract and make a positive video about Scientology. Valerie's deprogramming was meant to take 2 weeks. They held her for 3 months. What did they want you to say? What did they get you to say?
They wanted me to say how amazing it was and how I was never held against my will and I was never abused at all and I loved it there and it was amazing. It was like a Disneyland paradise. Are you joking? Like, I'm literally in a room with an armed guard and 5 people outside the room. You have my passport, you have my ID, I have nothing on me. I can't do anything.
But escaping to the real world is no protection against this bulletproof institution, as Valerie discovered when she tried to sue it, forced back to the compound once more to negotiate with her alleged abusers.
You are making this woman go inside of the place that she was abused, trafficked, kidnapped, inside, back into the belly of the beast.
Hello and welcome. You've probably heard of Scientology.
He may not show it, but the supreme leader of Scientology, David Miscavige, is under immense pressure. The church's reputation is taking a beating, with multiple court cases hearing complaints of terrible abuses from former followers. But Miscavige has been missing in action, found by a judge to have actively concealed his whereabouts to evade taking the stand. Quite extraordinary behaviour from Scientology's Pope, though accountability has never really been their thing. But Valerie Haney is the face of a growing legal fightback, suing the church for human trafficking, kidnapping, harassment, stalking, and the violation of child labour laws. In Scientology, you have taken on a mighty opponent. Do you feel like he's still standing?
Yeah, it's been a bit rough at times, for sure. They've tried to make it as rough as possible, but I'm not gonna let that stop me.
Inconceivably, Valerie's first legal hurdle has been to try to overturn the contracts she was made to sign while in Scientology. Amongst the many over her 37 years in the church, she signed her first when she was just 8 years old. It was a billion-year pledge.
All of the laws and the documentation and everything that they're making me sign aren't binding in the real world because I was a child when I joined this cult.
But the real world is judging otherwise, with courts claiming they can do no else. Religious freedom means the contracts, no matter how long or onerous, cannot be questioned by the law. Can you explain to me how these contracts can actually be considered legitimate in a court of law?
That's a great question. What's happening is that the courts are saying under our First Amendment that they can't read into or in any way assert the rule of law into what this quote-unquote religion believes, which we're not asking them to do. We're not asking them to do that.
Guy DeAndrea is Valerie's attorney. He is asking the courts to judge what Scientology does, not what it thinks.
You can believe in human sacrifice. If that's what you believe, you can believe that. You can't commit that act. right? You can't do that. And that's all we're saying here. But the courts, for whatever reason in Val's case, are refusing to see that or refusing to look at it, at least at this stage.
In other cases, judges have said their hands are tied. Do you agree with that?
No, their hands are not tied. You don't have to look at the belief system.
But to resolve the case, the court has ordered Valerie to return to the lion's den, to enter Scientology's internal arbitration process, allowing the church to be its own judge and jury. How let down do you feel by the legal system?
I was definitely shocked when I was told to go back into their grips. I was shocked when I was told that I had to do that.
Valerie will subject herself to arbitration if it means she might eventually get to a proper court.
You are a Scientologist. You are a mindless robot.
The great hope is that the recent conviction of Scientologist and actor Danny Masterson, facing 30 years in jail for multiple rapes, changes everything. That once and for all, Scientology will be unmasked, allowing more and more victims to sue the church for their suffering. In the meantime, Valerie Haney's advice is simple: steer clear. What warning would you give others about Scientology?
I would say don't even think about it. And I would say run for the hills. Do not get involved at all whatsoever.
You must feel like you're sort of betraying yourself sometimes to talk out about it.
Well, yeah, it's going against everything I was ever taught. I'm like dripping with sweat right now. Like but I know that it's right, and I know that it's the truth. So I have to, help others, and I have to make sure that it's not going to harm other people.